Hello everyone and welcome to Sunburned. Albino ranks every boss in Elden Ring, a Shadow of the Erdtree DLC from easiest to hardest, excluding repeats within the DLC and repeats from the base game unless they've gotten a significant enough reskin. That leaves us with 30 unique-ish bosses to go through. There may be a couple of side dudes missing, but I definitely got every remembrance boss on here unless there's some super hidden one nobody knows about because I made sure to look that shit up after last time. Now your mileage may vary based on your Erdtree blessing level and your build, but this ranking speaks to my personal playthrough where I did explore basically everywhere I could and hunted for fragments whenever I needed to. I came in at base level 130-ish on a new game file and proceeded to get my back blown out until I upped my blessing level a few times at the beginning, starting from easiest and working our way to hardest. Number 30, Lamenter. The easiest boss in Shadow of the Erdtree is Lamenter. I must have just missed the part where this dude does any damage at all. He splits into clones and fires off these little darkness balls, but they basically didn't exist to my armor, and all I had to do was dispel enough clones to target the real guy, who proceeds to stand there and get hit until he teleports again. There is zero sense of urgency, and it's a relaxing walk in the park compared to the abject hell that we've all suffered, or will soon. Number 29, Chief Bloodfiend. I came in here with no Estus because I generously donated them all to his congregation outside and was surprised to find that I didn't even need any. His moves are slow and predictable and he's easily staggered by jump attacks. It's the kind of random dungeon encounter that's refreshing after getting shat out of a couple remembrance boss fights. You go from getting impaled by flame spears to bullying a lung cancer patient who can't stop coughing blood. Number 28, Count Ymir, Mother of Fingers. It's 2024, and dudes can be finger mothers if they damn well please. Say what you will, but this guy's out here actually giving birth to them like a seahorse. Now that's commitment to the bit. Unfortunately, his constitution is not as durable as his uterus, so he dies in like 15 seconds after getting bled like a period, but he was nice at first and gave me little gifts, so I'll still send him a card on Mother's Day. Number 27, Curseblade Labirith. I fought this guy a bit high into my Erdtree blessing level, but his dungeon is down in the flower field, so it's not like he's early game. I still remember the first enemy you encounter is one of these dudes, and how unenthused I was by his 9,000 ring spins. This is a self-winding Beyblade of a boss, and I dreaded all the ones I ran into, but here he dies in like 6 hits, so easy boss. Number 26, Dryleaf Dane. One of a dozen NPC fights you'll have as bosses in this game, Dryleaf is at least among the most unique, using new martial arts weapons that a lot of people really wanted to get their hands on going in. For him, it's not that effective though. I'm wearing a comically sized lion head and you think you can just walk up and punch me? Occasionally he'll go full aggro and chase you down, which can be annoying when you need to heal, but generally not a hard fight. Number 25, Erdtree Avatar. It's actually very interesting that there's a 3-phase boss fight in the hardest Souls game, and it's somehow one of the easier ones. The Erdtree Avatar takes massive damage to its sunflower face and attacks relatively infrequently. You'll just need to nail down some roll timing to avoid bleed thorns. Once you drain its HP all the way, you'll need to visceral it to get to the next stage. Not much really changes between stages either. It's just a weed that keeps growing back after you whack it until you finally super whack it, and then it's like, alright, I'll die now. Number 24, Black Knight Garu. This dude answers the question, what if Marika was also a frog? I've seen some weird crucible aspects, or whatever you call them, but giving yourself frog face and lashing your tongue at a man might take the cake. He's got the Marika Holy Hammer attacks, and then randomly during battle he's like, I should eat some flies. I'm using the Scarlet Rot Halberd you get from beating the Hot Centipede Lady, which just so happens to have the exact same moveset as the Guardian Sword Spear from my last Elden Ring boss ranking. Does that make me an old dog who can't learn new tricks? At least it has an Ash of War that you never have time to activate. Number 23, Ancient Dragon Man. We're about to run a gambit of boring NPC battles, starting with failed Marvel character, Ancient Dragon Man. If I wanted to PvP, I would go online. These fights are so boring. The only saving grace is that you generally get their weapon and armor afterwards, which is cool if you happen to be the exact build required to use them. What this NPC fails to realize is that with Placidusax's sword, I am the real Dragon Man, and he is merely a larper. Number 22, Dancer of Ranah. Have you ever wanted to get men hard while slicing their dicks off? Then the Dancer Swords may be for you. They've got an Ash of War where you hold the button and it immediately creates a TikTok account. If you can outrange the Dancer, you'll feel pretty good. She keeps twirling over to me like she's the Black Swan and I just stick my pole in her face. Oh, and for some reason she also has this shotgun pyroblast that does insane damage if you're up close, but it's easy to react to. Number 21, Rakshasa. I'm not getting any individuality from this guy. Rakshasa sounds like the name of somebody important, but this dude just looks like Vake with a different weapon. Also, I'd like to call the front desk and complain about the fact that his sword makes you take extra damage when you wield it, but it doesn't seem to affect his defense at all. The cool thing about a great katana with bleed is that you'll never get enough hits to proc it fast enough on any boss worth a damn. I'm supposed to bleed Radon with this slow-ass thing when I can land one hit for every 6 dodges? This weapon is a scam, and its wielder loves to spam. If you time a jump attack to land after the a second swing of his Ash of War, that's a good way to counter it, or else he'll just slice his way across the whole room at you. Nothing goes uncleaved when this guy shows up. If there's tension in the air, he will cut all of it. Number 20, Death Knight. There's a couple of these, I'm just counting this one. Death Knights are cool. You'll do like a third of their HP, and then all of a sudden they grab you and steal all of it back. A fun way to counter this is by equipping the charm where critical hits restore your HP, so you can get like 5 backstabs in a row and show them who's the superior life stealer. It's still them, because they heal to full with one attack, but don't tell them that. Number 19, Black Knight Edred, a more nimble version of Geru with decidedly less tongue. Edred uses a twin blade and is capable of causing a lot of damage with the spins. Fortunately, he can also be backstabbed, and jump attacks generally interrupt him unless he's mid-attack. His aerial charge is similar to the first Crucible Knight from the base game, so a standard roll-through will do, and he can get rinsed by certain Ashes of War. Number 18, Red Bear. Not to be confused with the 2 Great Red Bears, this Red Bear is not a bear at all, but a man, so women everywhere are confused about whether or not to choose him. He could claw you to death, or be a ravenous lover, or both, in whichever order he desires. The bear claws have a cool moveset, but they scale with strength, so I didn't get to try them. I went from a dex build to an arcane dex build after I got this halberd, and though it's nothing crazy, and Scarlet Rot doesn't do jack to enemies, it's my humble selection on vibes alone. I'm a halberd guy. Number 17, Ralva the Great Red Bear. I saw someone wonder aloud on Twitter once whether Tarzan was a virgin when he met Jane, or if he had done some gorilla schnastiness, and I have the same question about Red Bear and the Great Red Bears. If a human dresses up as a bear, are real bears like hell yeah? Can they even tell the difference? Anyway, Ralva and her other counterpart, I'm skipping because they're the exact same boss, are the most fun bears to fight. Base game rune bears are vanilla now. I'm into red bears now. My tastes have evolved because they have cooler movesets. Red bears engage in some shockwave shenanigans where you'll want to roll towards the point of impact when they raise their arm back up, like you're fighting the first phase of Malekith. It took a couple tries to get used to, but I now enjoy fighting these bosses. Number 16, Jory, Elder Inquisitor. This is an example of a boss that will kill you if you don't pay it the proper respect, even though you know it doesn't deserve it anyway. Jory spams summons and generally weak but rapid spells, and if you get caught in a crossfire, it can be over very abruptly. You especially need to be careful once the 1,000-pound sister comes out, because even though it disappears in a couple hits, it can stunlock you with its belly flap and make you get hit by other stuff. When Jory does the spell where Holy Light keeps coming out of the ground under you, sprint behind him and get a backstab to stop the onslaught. Not a hard boss, just an annoying one to die to. Number 15, Ghost Flame Dragon. You can kill this dude right out of the gate, as I did, but he'll have a mountain of HP to get through. It's mostly a basic dragon fight, but the dragons in the DLC now all have this new charging combo attack with their wings. It's not hard to deal with, but it might catch you off guard the first time. Otherwise, it may just be a reskin of a normal dragon fight, but he's made of bones, and his fire is black and white like an old cartoon, so it's cool. Number 14, Golden Hippopotamus. This is a boss I would not call hard, especially after fighting more of them in the overworld, but this was my first attempt and I really tanked my way through it, so it looks very bad. I love this boss conceptually. I'm a big fan of animal bosses. The Ancestral Spirit is my favorite boss in the base game. Ava the King's Pet is my favorite boss from Dark Souls 2. I wish to slay more giant mutant beasts like it's Monster Hunter, but if the fights didn't take 20 minutes. Halfway through the battle, this boss gets quills and bangs and starts spitting out enough golden needles to make Millicent blush. He also gets a rolling attack because every animal in the fucking game has to have a sonic spin dash move for no reason. The goddamn spider scorpions have a spin dash move. What is the obsession here? Number 13, Demi-Human Swordmaster Owns. I would consider this dude to be the easiest hard boss or the hardest easy boss. He makes me look like an absolute buffoon, and this is footage from the introductory stream I did, so you can see my dumb face the whole time, like, what's going on? I go in there and I have absolutely no handle on how to dodge anything. He jumps around so much it shuts down my nervous system and I can't follow any patterns. His magic sword does frost build up, and boy does he build it up. I'm out here desperately trying to circle him for backstabs as my only recourse. I killed him second try, but I did not feel secure doing it. Number 12, Gank Squad Erdtree Edition. So there's a couple fights in the DLC that are like the base game Radon fight, where it feels like the game wants you to summon NPCs to help out because it fits the narrative of that particular situation. For this one, they give you this random bleed dude to summon. I have no idea who he is or why he wants to help me, and maybe if you advance more quests, you get more potential cooperators, since it's basically a two-sided war with Miquella's followers. But if you don't summon anyone, you're gonna get ganked by 2 or 3 NPCs at once, and nobody wants that. So you summon this guy before the fight, and then he shows up like a minute in while they drip feed NPC enemies for you to either spam to death or run away from. At least the gank squad from Dark Souls 2 had passive ranged attackers. In this battle, every enemy wants all up in your goodies at close range, and you've got to just sprint away and wait for openings. It reminds me of a neophyte, but the annoying ones everyone hates. You can choose to do this solo, but not everything needs to be done for the appeasement of the get good crowd. Sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, I don't want to suffer that today. God knows there are other things in the DLC that'll make you break your usual values against your will. Might as well do this one of your own accord. Number 11, Black Jail Knight. This is likely the first boss you'll run into in the DLC. He's in the dungeon nearest to the entrance, and he is a fat piece of shit. At least the onion dude from Dark Souls 3 had drip. This is just rotund garbage who never staggers and armors through all my attacks and will absolutely kill you in 2 hits if you don't first farm up some Scattertree blessings. His unique weapon is the repeater crossbow, which fires like a chain gun, but it's the least dangerous thing about him because he's so stuffed with fucking lard that the melee swings are unstoppable. You can sprint around a machine gun easy. You can't sprint around a greatsword wielded by a walking globe. If he uses his Ash of War when you're close, the little stomp into the drag is a stun lock and will automatically get you clapped by the follow-up attack. So a dude with hyper armor who has true combos that kill at full health, welcome back Kazuya Mishima. You're such a fat fucking toilet, dude. I hate this man. He's only the 11th hardest boss, but he's definitely the most annoying. Number 10, Romina, Saint of the Bud. If this was a real Dark Souls boss, she would be naked and have tits. I guess Quelaag and Scorpioness Nachka have nothing to worry about. Sorry, simps, no more hot bug ladies for your evening wanks. She presents a very similar fight to those two, though, from a battle perspective, dodging weapon swings and bug attacks in tandem. I just think it's unfair that she gets to potentially inflict Scarlet Rot without showing at least a little side boob. I didn't struggle very much here. It was over in a few tries at Blessing level 12 or 13, I believe, and Scarlet Rot is only a factor if you get hit by the wrong attacks too much. Number 9, Metir, Mother of Fingers. They call me the Mother of Fingers is probably a line I used in high school with little to no results. This is another boss like the Hippo where it probably isn't that hard, but I sure make it look hard. For some reason in this footage I am like dead set on getting knocked out of my Ash of War every time I start it, and it's just not a good look for someone who claims to be good at these games. None of Metir's attacks are particularly hard to deal with, except when she turns to the side and has all her finger legs run you the hell over, but it's a cool boss and I was very close to missing it since it's locked behind the cathedral quest. Number 8, Midra, Lord of Frenzied Flame. This boss starts the way I wish every boss started, with you bullying a helpless man to death. If that was how it ended and there was no second phase, I would be so deeply satisfied, but alas, a man has to grow a fire orb head and actually do stuff. If you have anything with madness resist on it, equip it. It's not strictly necessary to win, but it can prevent some death scenarios. I find Midra to be a breath of fresh air where Remembrance bosses are concerned, because even though he's a late game encounter, he doesn't just throw the whole damn kitchen sink at you or go psycho with the combos, and you actually have time to counterattack. When he floats up in the air, you want to run as far back as you can to avoid the AoE, otherwise the telegraphs are well done and create a natural flow for your dodges to follow, and he doesn't really add any extra single hits to the ends of his strings just to be a dick like some others do. Number 7, Putrescent Knight. This is a Bloodborne boss in an Elden Ring DLC. Outside of the Frost Breath, this guy would fit in perfectly over there. Putrescent Knight technically suffers from overlong combos and creates a lot of scenarios where you have to completely shut off attack mode and focus purely on dodging, but these sections weren't that tough to figure out, so I find it less annoying than other iterations of that. If he jumps off his horse to land on you, you basically start your own minigame of dodging him, then the horse, then him, then the horse, then him again, and then trying to sprint all the way over there to get maybe one punish off. The other problem area will be his Frost Breath, where he will send 3 frost shockwaves at you at irregular intervals. The first 2 can be forward rolled through, while the third needs to be jumped forward. If you jump to the side, you get hit, so always jump towards the boss for that part. Otherwise, you're rolling through standard melee combos and getting your licks in where you can. It's a solvable fight, but it can still be demanding, especially if you get him down to a sliver and he starts one of his long chains, or you're a hit away from death and he starts one before you can heal. Number 6, Commander Gaius. I think Commander Gaius is the perfect difficulty level for me. It's kind of like a mix of fighting Radahn and a Tree Sentinel. You've got the mildly predictable intervals of a Tree Sentinel with enough downtime to heal, with the gravity spells and one large combo of Radahn to watch out for. I walked into this dude a dozen times to get put into a shallow grave, but the learning process was gratifying and tangible. Whenever he charges at you, dodge diagonally forward and to the right to avoid it. Dodging horizontally gets you clipped half the time, and dodging forward makes you take like double damage for some reason. Everything else is just a matter of rolling correctly, and I appreciate that most of the hits and combos are either singular or small before you get your opening. If you ever see him ride past you to your left without attacking, his boar's probably about to quickly turn around with a head swing, so anticipate that, but yeah, I like this boss. Number 5, Divine Beast Dancing Lion. We're here in the top 5 hardest bosses of the Elden Ring DLC, with our first Remembrance fight opening the gates. This boss is hard to parse. It's two dudes in a lion costume who are somehow in perfect sync with each other on what to do and when. They'd be the greatest chained together players of all time, but they move like an ulcerated tree spirit sometimes, where it's hard to figure out what attack you're looking at before it happens. Sometimes they just kind of walk into you and knock you over. Their spinning breath attack can be jumped over if you move against the direction it's coming from, but the boss also approaches you while it spins several times. You have to retreat and make sure you don't get cornered by it while maintaining the jumps. It's good to undo the lock-on so you can see this better when it happens. All seems well and good until the first lightning strikes come out. The dancing lion goes into the avatar state and swaps elements on the fly. This divine beast is the winged dragon of Ra, Obelisk the Tormentor, and Slifer the Sky Dragon all at the same time. Lightning is the most annoying. He'll be comboing you and you'll be trying to dodge, but little lightning strikes hit you in the interim and cancel your roll inputs or get you comboed to death. Frost can also be tough with the shockwaves and frost buildup, but the wind one is easy. He just gains a giant cyclone attack that you can sprint away from. If you're struggling with this boss, go find some Erdtree fragments. I think I was blessing level 5 when his attack stopped melting my HP. Number 4, Rellana, Twin Moon Knight. I remember being on my 15th try on this boss thinking, I would rather fight Malenia. Rellana never stops attacking. Malenia will walk at you for a bit, or do 1 or 2 attacks before giving you a short opening with just Waterfowl Dance and that other move in her second phase to respect and dread, but Rennala will do a 9-hit combo as her bread and butter. Like, that's her basic attack. That's the string you'll get the most used to when fighting her. That's flagrantly insane. And then the existence of that triple hit she does, where it's like left upper, right upper, both downward slash. The startup on that is so non-existently fast that you have to preemptively dodge anytime she makes a sudden move, because it might be that move and it's unreactable if you don't anticipate it. I hate that her arms move so independently from each other. You'd think they were attached to different people, the way one arm is always catching the roll you did to dodge the other arm. And then any boss that uses homing soul mass, or whatever the spell is where the projectiles hover above them for a bit, can suck my exasperated nuts. It just pauses the fight and you have to hang back and wait. Her other spells are whatever. I like her magic greatswords, and I even like the Moonfall attack because it's just 3 jumps in a row and you get a halfway decent punish if you're close enough when it ends. Her fire shit, forget about it though. I never got a handle on that, and in her second phase the combos just get different and deadlier, and it's like, man, what did I learn all this other stuff for if you're just gonna kill me with this new one every time? I never want to fight this boss again. At least some of the other ones are cool. This one's just on crack. Number 3, Messmer the Impaler. Messmer also suffers from Rellana syndrome, but his attacks are way more of a spectacle, and he only has 1 spear, so you won't get your rolls clipped as much. He feels closer to Malenia in terms of being really hard, but still giving you time to attack him, with thankfully no lifesteal. My biggest tip for Messmer is that in your opening bouts trying to learn his attacks, just never assume the combo is over. Try to just react to each telegraph as it happens, and then take note of how many hits was in that combo, and what he looked like right before starting it, so you can recognize it again. This dude's strings love to look like the combo is over, but then oops, here's 1 more thrust, or 1 more slash, or this jump attack detonates the ground after it lands, so you have to roll again at the right time. So yes, a lot to take in. The second phase turns him into a serpent man with very different attacks visually, but the dodge timings actually aren't too far off, and the giant snake hits are well telegraphed. This took about an hour, at blessing level 13 or so. Number 2, Bale the Dread. Boy, is that right. I spent 2 hours trying to beat this asshole at blessing level 18, and I was just doing no damage at all. His head is his weak spot, though you can also do a little extra damage to his lack of leg compared to the rest of his scale-armored self, but I would miss his head so often with how he moves it around so much that I couldn't reliably aim for it and focused his gimp instead. Bale would definitely drive a rascal scooter at Walmart. In the end, I decided to give in and use Egon's NPC summon sign since he tells you to for his quest. I'm thinking if I was 1 blessing level higher, I could have pulled it off solo, but once I hit 18, I forgot where I'd already been and didn't want to revisit every single location with the interactive map, especially since some of them are deep inside legacy dungeons. Apparently there are anti-dragon weapons you can employ, like the Dragon Katana dropped by Ancient Dragon Man that does super effective damage to dragons like it's Pokemon, but my build didn't facilitate that, so I was white-knuckling it with my Scarlet Rot Halberd that refused to proc Scarlet Rot no matter how many times I hit him. Bale's second phase is literally a dragon turning Super Saiyan. He grows a new fucking pair of wings and starts chucking meteors, lighting up the ground with AoEs. It's a lot to deal with, and the laser move in particular always gets me with that delayed explosion. I just simply didn't do enough damage to out-tank this boss, and I have a history of struggling with dragon fights in all Souls games like Medir and Dark Souls 3, so I used Egon's Summon and immediately beat Bale my first attempt with it, ready to mark him off as my hardest boss of the DLC. Then I met this fucking asshole again. Number 1. Promised Consort Radahn. The hardest boss in the Elden Ring DLC is Promised Consort Radahn. So am I to understand Miquella shed his earthly child form and travel to the Shadow Realm to necromance a dead general and mate with him? Who wrote this? Kevin Spacey? I like how he revived Radahn at a younger age so he could be in peak physical condition for the honeymoon. I miss Radahn's little donkey. It was apparently holding him back because his combos don't quit. At any point, if you are mid-distance from him, have a finger on the roll button because at any time he can decide to suddenly pull you in like a vacuum and then unleash a gravity shockwave that's undodgeable if you didn't avoid the initial pull. Another cool attack is when he launches several gravity meteors at you, and it feels like the right thing to do is to sprint to the side to dodge them, but it only works half the time because one of them is sometimes sticking out too far horizontally. I started fighting this boss, still blessing level 18, and it took maybe 20 minutes to start getting to phase 2. Want to know how long it took me to beat him in phase 2? 5 hours. 3 hours in, I again threw all my pride in the toilet with the towel and started using spirit ashes, but he still killed him in like 15 seconds, so it took another 2 hours to finally break through. I switched to a +1 Reduvia as a joke, but then I did like 2/3 of his health with it just from repeated bleed damage, so I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna upgrade this, and then it still took like 30 tries after that. Beating this boss is an Olympic feat. It took me 5 times longer than it took to beat Malenia, and it's because the second phase is just horseshit with a side of go fuck yourself. So in the second phase cutscene, Miquella comes down and wears himself on Radahn like a holy gay necklace, and Radahn gains tactical fucking air support from 7 attack helicopters who beam down rays of light all over the arena anytime he swings his swords. There is no if anymore. Your dodges are going to get clipped constantly by instantaneous beams in front of him that do a constant supply of chip damage and interrupt your dodge timings. Radahn himself also does chip damage with his new instant transmission fake-out attacks, where he sends phantoms of himself to attack preemptively before he himself actually does the attack in question, and you're supposed to stand there and face tank the fake hits while remembering which hit is the real one to roll into. There's like 3 different versions of these attacks, and each one has a different amount of fake attacks that go off before the real one. If he does the grounded one, it's the second one. If he does the aerial one, it's the 4th one, and if he does a different aerial one after his gravity meteors, it's the 5th one. So you have to sit there and take imaginary blows to the face while counting to yourself 1, 2, 3, 4, dodge. I even think that's a cool mechanic. It's just overload with the beams of light that are still decimating the ground every half second. If you took those persistent light beams out of the fight and left everything else in, this man would have been dead hours ago, and that's what I call artificial difficulty. Radahn also gets a grab attack in this phase where he scoops you up and then Miquella tries to fuck you from his shoulder blades, but if you have Miquella's broken rune in your inventory, you will resist his charm and it won't actually do anything. I don't know what happens if you don't have that, but it's probably rated AO. This dude would make anyone his consort. My character is ugly and looks like the KKK for gingers. Radahn and his twink lover are now the hardest boss in Souls game history, so congrats on making me homophobic. That's gonna do it for this boss ranking. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe. Watch all my other videos with a wispy dude on your shoulders, and I'll see you guys next time.